on events here on the ground from retired Army Major John Spencer. He's chair of urban warfare studies at West Point's Modern War Institute and also co-author of the book Understanding Urban Warfare. Major Spencer, really appreciate your expertise right now. Israeli troops have been inside Gaza, we understand, looking for hostages, also targeting specific sites. How difficult is that in terms of actually locating hostages in a situation like this, and how much does the presence of hostages affect the planning for a ground operation?
I mean, it's extremely complex, as you know. There's basically a city under a city where these hostages could be and where they're being moved even from that. But based on intelligence, the IDF says they move forward to either rescue hostages or collect more intelligence. But also, these are signs to me of the impending ground campaign, as those small raids, those shaping operations, testing Hamas's defenses are a part of the larger operation as well.
You call them shaping operations, and it's a term we've been using a lot. Can you just explain what you mean by that?
Sure. So these are operations that you do before you launch the full, what we call the decisive operation. The main, you want to surprise the other side on where you're going and make them think you're doing different things. It's the same thing that we did in the Second Battle of Fallujah, where we tried to convince all of the defenders that we were coming from the south and we came from a different direction. And we did small attacks like this to shape that part of the operation on where the enemy thinks you're coming from.
The warning from Israel's military telling more than 1 million people to evacuate Gaza in 24 hours. I mean, there's not a lot of military forces that drop leaflets telling people to move out. From a military standpoint, let alone a humanitarian standpoint, it's in Israel's best interest to have fewer civilians in the areas that they want to operate in.
That's right. But now we're talking about legal obligations. Both sides have the legal obligations to protect civilians. And you covered the 2017 Battle of Mosul, where 1.4 million were trapped in one city. The IDF have called for Gaza City to be evacuated. The longer they wait, yes, more civilians get out, and that's in everybody's best interest. The longer they wait, Hamas gets to trap people just like ISIS did in the Battle of Mosul, where they trapped 800,000, trap them there and prepare for their use and prepare their defenses. With the hostages, too, it's a paradox. If you wait longer, more cost. If you go faster, more cost. And I know the UN said this impossible. I don't agree with that, but I'd rather see the UN mobilizing to establish humanitarian sites either in Egypt or right on the other side of the Egyptian border in Gaza for these people to go, because the operation is going to happen in my mind, or in all signs.
It is. I mean, we have seen mass migrations of people over the decades in war zones. I mean, it is often chaotic. It's often not something that's even called for. It's just people evacuating. We've seen hundreds of thousands of people move in very short order. Again, massive complications. It is not something that anybody would want to have happen. But you're saying, I mean, is it possible for that many amount of people to move in a short period of time?
Absolutely. And to be honest, Anderson, this isn't the first call, right? I saw on Monday the IDF messaging, leave these areas, these combat areas. It's extremely difficult, and it is a humanitarian crisis. Not impossible. And the IDF have even identified, you wouldn't call them green quarters at this point, but look, go down this road. This road will not be attacked. But the problem is that the other side, who has the duty to protect civilians, is telling civilians to stay. They're broadcasting on the reports of the Hamas, broadcasting on the mosque, broadcasting all across, and to stay where you're at.
Major John Spencer, I appreciate your expertise. Thank you. Boris, Brianna, back to you.